If Donald Trump is elected president of the United States, in a kind of historical way, it's exciting because we will see the actual last president of the United States. It just won't work after that.
So you won't be thrilled if that happens?
I don't believe in that stuff, you know.
He wrote several nonfiction works, along with a very prophecy-filled book called 1900, or The Last President, which is a dark foreshadow to future events that he would have no possible idea about. Finally, his most rare work, Laconics of Cult, a complete mirror to his earlier works, going deep into the occult and esoteric knowledge that this man displayed, were situated somewhere in northern Russia, possibly on the western slopes of the upper Urals. It's quite interesting that today we know that this location has vast underground natural cave networks that were not discovered in the time of Ingersoll Lockwood, but he predicted this in his book. And if we look further down the rabbit hole of these extensive caves in the Ural Mountains, we see that ancient nanostructures have been discovered, almost pointing to an ancient civilization or more mysterious origin to these mountains. Could these mountains be one of the entrances to Hollow Earth? Little Baron Trump in the novel also lives in Castle Trump. Coincidentally, his family is extremely wealthy, but the father of Baron Trump wants to secure his son's fortune for the future. None of these books explain how Baron Trump passes or what happens to him, besides finding a time-traveling portal in the middle of the earth, which ties into other radical theories that the Trump family is associated with time travel. It's important to take note that Lockwood's book about Little Baron Trump was way ahead of its time. It talked about Hollow Earth, time travel, fantastical places and creatures and people that lived inside the earth. Cities of full silver, everything was silver in some of these areas. And they even talked about the Goggle Zone, which reminded me almost of Google Zone. In the book 1900, or The Last President, it is known as, it predicts that socialists and anarchists will start rioting in New York City from November 3rd, and that possibly Trump is the last president. Chicago is taken, and people are assassinated by the mob. Last bastion of resistance, the Supreme Court, due to have multiple vacancies from old age. Suddenly an eclipse happens, everyone's afraid. People are believing that the new president has ties to moneylenders and usurers. This is all in a book that was written in the year 1896. There's a part in the book that also states that Chicago celebrated the election of the new president, who was to free the land from the grasp of the moneylenders and undo the bad business of years of unholy union between barterers and sellers of human toil and the lawmakers of the land. What was Ingersoll Lockwood talking about in 1896? What did he foresee? How did he forecast these events? Was it divination? Was it channeling? Was it time travel? Was he merely reporting on the events of meeting a real time traveler, possibly named Baron Trump? Another interesting coincidence or synchronicity in this book is one of the cabinet members of this future president, the last president, his Secretary of Agriculture. His name was Leif Pence of Colorado. Very interesting. Could he see the name Pence and he just got the position wrong? Lockwood also started a society for men that were 6 foot 2 inches tall. Coincidentally, Trump is 6 foot 2 inches tall. So is Tesla and Patton are all exactly that height. This was called the Union of the Titans, or the Order of the Titans, and a few links between this society and the Freemasons exist. The majority theory of the people that went down this rabbit hole is that Ingersoll Lockwood either came into contact with time-traveling Baron Trump or was a major facilitator for said person. Just like the young Baron in the book had the manuscripts of Don Foom, the rumor is President Trump has the manuscripts of Tesla from his uncle John Trump, and he has used these articles and technology to run the timelines, to win the presidency, and to continue benefiting this reality. But a darker, more Halloween theory we're about to look into revolves around his final and most rare book on my list. His book, Laconics of Cult, shows what Ingersoll Lockwood was truly involved with. Deep Hermeticism, possibly connected to the origins of the Jesuits and other secret mystery schools. The opening cover of the book shows Ingersoll at the age of 30 and also at the age of 60, where it says under his name, author and originator of the cult of the immortal human. And funny enough, his picture doesn't look like he aged a day. This is back before the age of cosmetic surgery. The only difference is the color of his beard hair. Did Ingersoll find the secret to life? The book talks about the creation of a god, how to make your own god, and he goes into myths about Muhammad, Osiris, Apis, Horus. He talks about Enoch and Elijah, and how they never saw death, and how they were snatched up from this earth as mortals. He writes poems in this book of the immortal human. To the grand and noble soul of my brother Henry Clay Lockwood. He was famously known to be friends with Sir Henry Clay. The tone of this book is almost educational with a flair of mysticism. Compared to his fiction books and his prophetical, almost political book, this is a far stretch comparatively. Did Mr. Lockwood form a cult back then? We could see now looking back that he had an extensive insight into future events, into the political landscape 100 years down the line, and into fantastical ideas like Hollow Earth and other topics like time travel. 100 years later, with the election of Donald Trump, the books of Ingersoll Lockwood are now coming back to bring us an eerie take from the past, almost like Nostradamus has done.